Do you want to be made well? Do you want to be healed? On the surface, it sounds like a stupid question, really. Here's this guy who's come to this healing pool, which has legends of miraculous cures all about it. Think of Lourdes or some place in the world where people go and gravitate towards places that they have seen visitations or folks have come there and have been healed by the waters, have been healed simply by the pilgrimage site. And that's what this pool had become. And the primary legend was that an angel or angels would come and trouble the water, as Stephanie talked about. And if you could get into the water right at that moment when the invisible angel was troubling the water, then magic happens, and one experiences healing. And I can imagine the scene. It would be a tourist attraction of sorts. There would be buskers playing all around the pool setting and all those porticles there. There would be street preachers pontificating. There would be pop-up food stands for the tourists that are there. There'd be scads of people milling about, some in need of healing, some in need of miracle because that's all they've got left in terms of hope, and others who are just hoping that life has more mystery than all of our philosophies contain. And in the midst of this hustle, Jesus appears and spots a man who has been crippled up for 38 years. He's so crippled that he cannot stand up and walk on his own. His hope is that he will somehow be carried into the pool at that exact moment when the angels are troubling the water. It is a long shot hope. It is a hope against hope itself. It is utterly futile. Hope is always and only our own courageous persistence in the face of utter futility and certain failure. That's what hope is. Hope is our courageous persistence in the face of defeat when nothing is possible. And maybe that's why Jesus inquired about this particular man of all the people laying around the pool. Perhaps Jesus saw that this man's act of hope, his act of courageous persistence, would be the portal through which his healing would come. Jesus refuses to lift him up, refuses to carry him into the pool, to engage in the tourism of spectacle. Instead, Jesus asks him this kind of no-duh question. Do you want to be made well? Do you want to be healed? Duh. Why else would he be there? Why else would he be at that pool? But I love the question, because I think it shows remarkable spiritual insight. All of us, each of us, need some form of healing in our lives. Each of us are crippled up by something, an attitude, an addiction, a persistent ailment, a worry, a concern. Each of us carry suffering in our bodies or in our spirits or in our mind. No one is immune to anguish. And none of us are innocent of hurting other people, quite often with intention and malice, and quite often through apathy and resentment. Do you want to be made well of all of that? Do you want to be healed from all of that? Do you, individually, you want to be healed? That's the point of this story. And that's the reason it is Scripture. It is a question that God is asking each of us. Like right now. Do you want to be healed? What would it take? What would you have to give up to be healed? What effort would you have to make to be healed? What would you have to do to be healed? I think that's the genius of the question. Do you want to be made well? The story goes on. Jesus, perhaps cruelly in the eyes or ears of others, says to the crippled up man, "Stand up, pick up your bedroll, and walk." Again, think of the scene. Think of yourself as an onlooker. How dare he? And yet, I guess, the miracle is that for whatever reason, the man did so. After 38 years of courageous persistence, 38 years, he somehow discovered new capacities of even greater courage and greater persistence, because that is what Jesus does with those who engage him. It isn't that Jesus magically heals the man. Rather, Jesus midwives the man's inner capacity to transcend his own limitations. And if you are that man, that is miracle indeed. The attitude that plagued you, the addiction that enslaves you, the worry, the concerns, the anguish, the resentments, the suffering, the futility that you find yourself caught in, the rotten melancholy that has eaten your soul for the last 38 years, all of this is possible to cast out. All of this is possible to turn towards new creation. You don't have to be stuck in your script. You have capacity to edit and rewrite the script. You can resist the forces that enslave you and shrink your ability to reimagine. Once the man is healed, the story goes on beyond what we read this morning. His miraculous conversion results in a fairly vicious conflict with the authorities, in this case, the religious authorities. Seems that Jesus' miracles, I kind of think this is a spiritual rule of thumb, Jesus' miracles don't conform to the rules. It seems that Jesus paints outside of the boundaries and in colors that are not allowed. And that's the general spiritual rule. If the world is turned upside down, you can be pretty sure that God is around, troubling the waters. I've just spent a week watching Jesus do his thing in Portland. He was cleverly disguised as your children. Donovan, Shaylin, Nora, and Naomi, and Muriel, and Kira, and Lauren, and Angeline, and Isabel, and Theo, and Azalee, and the utterly fantastic youth leaders of this church, Israel, and Chris, and Kayla, and Jericho, and Leo, and Kennedy, and Gloriana, and Dane, and Brandon. I mean, take a breath. That's a lot. That's a lot of wealth. And what an incredible bunch they are. What fantastically, spiritually life-giving saints you have been raising in this church, in this ministry. Kind, compassionate, caring, not only towards those who they went to help, but also towards each other. I was absolutely astonished at how they love each other, how they watch over each other, how they give space to each other, how they respect each other, because all of them are eccentric. That was an incredible mosaic. These are extraordinary kids. And I quite often felt that I was the crippled up old heart, being asked again and again by Jesus, do you want to play sardines? Do you want to play mafia? Do you want to go to Dutch Brothers? Do you want to be healed, Pastor Rich? Do you? And the way they worked, they did hard work, lifting heavy beams of wood for Habitat for Humanity Restore, tearing out weeds under a really hot sun that certainly melted me, assisting at the food bank, serving meals to hard-living, almost without hope street poor of Portland, watching Kira washing the feet of a smiling, lit-up, joyful homeless man was absolutely transcendent on Thursday night. The whole scene. And here's where it happened. It happened in the very place of the protest yesterday, right under the Burnside Bridge, right in that park on Portland's River. But on Thursday night, miracle happened. And all this stuff was going on. About 100 people were there, and different forms of ministry were going on. And your kids were there doing ministry, and Kira was there washing the feet of a homeless man. And the whole scene was just shimmering with this radiance that it's arrived. The veil gets moved a little bit, and you can see what human beings are capable of. Genuine care for the useless, for the non-productive, for those who don't fit in, for the last and the least and the lost. And your kids were there, being Jesus. It was a stunning experience. It was a week of holiness all the way around, even in the midst of our humanness. And so I first want to say simply thank you to the parents, because our parents have done a lot of things supremely right. The sacrifices you have made, the anguish you have carried, your own courageous persistence is in fact evolving towards a future of multiple healings. Your own children carry within themselves the capacity to be the healing hands of Jesus. I've seen it. I watched it. I observed it. I experienced it. And so I want to thank the parents for trusting us, for trusting the church to offer this opportunity for your kids to experiment being Jesus in Portland. And specifically, I would like to thank Donna O'Connor for doing the hard, tedious infrastructure work that pulled the whole project together. And I want to give a shout out to Joe Wren for trusting us with his truck, and for Karina for trusting us with her van. No small thing, you caught it. I mean, the first thing the kids did who were in the truck is they knew Joe's truck. Boom, out, they tear open one of these containers, out come the Uno cards, they're flying all over. It was a gracious act on Joe's part and Karina's part to trust us with their equipment. And I want to thank our congregation for helping us to fund the project. That's an investment with multiple dividends. For praying for this project, I think maybe that's where the shimmering comes from. And for being who you are, because these kids are a reflection of your own spirituality. They learned it somewhere. And none of this is a small matter. It's all holiness. We're all in it together. Being with your kids was like being in a really wonderful, large, extended family reunion when you're seeing those cousins that you actually like. And you all come together, and it was that kind of harmony. It was that kind of joy. It was that kind of care and a sense of excitement. And I was astonished at how ages 12 through 20-something, that's not normal, folks, to put that age group together. And I was astonished at how those ages could form a trust bond of affection and care. And it was quite simply a privilege to be with them. And they even accepted me for no good reason other than that's who they are. They are open and generous and smart and clever and witty and funny. They are perfect and a pleasure to be with. So I came back, my body's beat, I'm haggard, but I came back with nothing but gratitude and joy at the privilege of being with them. I feel as if I have bathed in a pool with a choir of angels and experienced healing of my own melancholy, my own sense of being an outsider. And even more people in Portland experience their healing powers as well. Now, talking about your kids wasn't supposed to be part of my sermon today. I had thought to share a bit of my own spiritual journey with you, and that can wait till later, maybe next week. Today, I thought it important that you know that your family ministry is awesome. It's good. It's very good. I think those of you who know Jev, we have a debt we cannot repay to his vision and the power of his personality to call those kids together and form that community. Through your family ministry, we have something of extreme importance to offer our neighborhood. We are doing very good work, and I just want to lift that up real clear for us to focus on building what is already developed in this church, and that's our family ministries. As Merton in the prayer this morning tries to teach us, although we might not be sure of where we are going, nevertheless, through our own courageous persistence, we will trust that God will guide us by the right road, even though we may know nothing about it. Congratulations, Lake Washington. You can leave today knowing you have done good work. And so when you wonder, where is the church going, especially us, United Methodist Church, we're always in turmoil somewhere. But when you wonder where we are going, you're already headed in the direction we need to be. And those kids of ours are little miracles. I don't say that easily, and I don't say that to puff you up. I was simply astonished to be around healthy, spiritual, fun, non-pious, incredible saints with a lot to offer you, this neighborhood, their schools. Amen.